you for joining us to the webinar series on understanding the new Charter of Aged Care Rights. This is brought to you today by the Older Persons Advocacy Network. Your time and participation in this webinar is greatly appreciated. And I say good afternoon here in New South, but good morning still to those in WA, and we welcome your participation. My name is Marie Montgomery, and I shall be your facilitator today and for the up and coming webinars and community events that OPAN are delivering. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people of the Aurora Nation on which we are meeting here today. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to elders from other communities who may be joining us here today. Today the webinar is really going to be discussing a few key issues about the new Charter of Aged Care Rights, key changes to the Charter and the benefits of change, what it means for organisations and their workforce particularly, timelines for the implementation of the new Charter, and the Charter signing requirements. There's a lot of discussion, as I'm sure you're very aware, around the signing requirements, consumer responsibilities, and what we all need to do to get ready. And to do this and to have this webinar today, we have got an amazing panel for you. So let me introduce you here today. On my left, I have Maria Berry. Hello, Maria.
Hello.
You're a consumer representative, is that correct?
It is, Marie, it is.
Excellent, thanks. And Craig Gear, OPAN CEO.
Good afternoon. Yes, I'm the CEO of OPAN. Good to be here today.
Excellent. And Carol Bain. Welcome. Thank you all the way from WA. That rhymes.
It does.
Excellent.
Thank you for inviting me.
That is a pleasure. That is a pleasure. Can you all give us a bit of background, I guess, a bit of bio, and also what is it that you're so passionate about aged care that brings us all here today together?
Maria Berry. My background is 30 years of working with older people professionally and within the community. I've been a volunteer health consumer representative coming up for a 10-year anniversary. I've also been a carer for my ageing parents as well, and navigating the health system has really, with a nursing background, hasn't given me the upper hand. And I thank you for the opportunity today, because I'm really passionate about working with organisations from a grassroots level to see what we can do in the future for our ageing population. So thank you.
That's a pleasure. It's a collaborative effort that we all have to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you. So I come from a health background and am now the CEO of the Older Persons Advocacy Network. For those who don't know about Aged Care Advocacy, it's a national program funded by the government, so free service, providing information, education and support to older people and their families across the country. We have 9 member organisations delivering aged care advocacy, and the advocacy is really that walking alongside a person, helping them to raise their voice, giving them advice about how to do that in a way that is empowering to them and helps them get what they deserve from aged care.
Yeah. Again, it's that collaborative joining together and supporting and getting rights for the elder person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. Carol, please tell us a little bit about yourself and what's that passion of aged care?
So I've migrated from Scotland over 30 years ago, for those that couldn't tell by my accent. And I actually worked as a nurse in Scotland in the aged care sector. And in the 30 odd years that I've been in Australia, I've always worked in the sector. First as a district nurse over in beautiful Western Australia, and then went into management in both residential and in community care, and also in the health sector. I also spent 5 years as a manager in rural and remote Western Australia, so understand the challenges, especially for the ACSA members that manage facilities and manage care in rural and remote areas. I'm getting on in years as well, so my passion is partly selfish for myself and obviously for my parents that live in Australia too. But I think that's always the sector that I've worked in, so it must be something that's deep-seated in me. So thank you.
Yeah. For the web audience, I also acknowledge there is amazing levels of expertise and experience out there. And today we are having live streaming, but there's also an ability to chat. So if you look up into your right-hand corner and see a little chat box, I would really love to get some of your texts in or your chats so that we can have, as a panel here, discuss some of the issues that you feel that may be concerning you in regards to understanding the new Charter of Aged Care Rights. Let's move into the chunky stuff. Let's look at the rights. So, as you are all aware, on the 1st of July in 2019, the Australian Government is introducing a new and simpler Charter of Aged Care Rights. These will replace the current Charters of Aged Care Rights and Responsibilities. And I put to you, Craig, what is the Charter, the new Charter of Aged Care Rights? And I guess, why is OPAN involved in this?
Sure, thanks, Maria. And I suppose the Charter has brought together the 4 previous Charters of Rights and Responsibilities, which kind of talked about different rights across home care and flexible care and those sorts of things. So with the new single quality aged care standards, there was a need to look at, well, how do we bring those 4 Charters of Rights and Responsibilities together? Mm-hmm. What I really like about this Charter is that it's a single one-page, 14 points which are understandable, written in clear English, and I suppose that puts this really front and centre for older people and their families to actually say, this is what I can expect from the aged care system. This is how I expect to be treated. It's been there before, but it's not been, I suppose, as visual and visible of having this one-page, easy to understand, easy to explain document. But this is the Charter and Rights is something that our advocacy services have been talking about for probably the last 25 years. So they've got a real long track record of using the Charter of Rights and Responsibilities to work with older people, but also to stand beside them and walk beside them and help raise those issues up to the aged care provider to say, I do need to be respected. I do need these things in my expectations from you as provider in the service that you're going to deliver me. Yeah.
So the consumer really is the nuts and bolts.
So that's exactly, and that's why OPAN's so keen to help support this, is because rights are so important. And it's only once, I suppose, you lose your rights that you start to understand how important they are. So having recently went to the Jewish Museum in Sydney, mm-hmm. and there was a whole wall there talking about the history of human rights, that sort of thing. And it's hard to explain to someone what a right is. But when you looked at it there and they said, it's what I deserve as a citizen, it's what I can expect, it's these things that be protected, and something like that, you saw what happens when rights aren't there and when they're not protected. So I think the Charter's a wonderful thing, and OPAN's great. Really pleased to be part of championing those rights.
We really are a kaleidoscope of individuals, aren't we?
Yes.
So, Carol, I guess, how will the new Charter impact upon ACSA's members?
So, as you said, the Charter is one of the things that one of the changes that are being implemented this year. Mm-hmm. So it does pose challenges for our members that have also got to implement other things like the new home care schedule and the new quality standards come the 1st of July. So it's a big year in the aged care sector and across the sector. I suppose for our members, at least there is simplification in it. At least there is only one charter now. Mm-hmm. And before I came on here, I read the old rights and responsibilities, and I went, that was actually really confusing. As a consumer, as well.
How would you know what it was?
Yeah. How would you actually explain it? Because it seemed to be a mismatch and not quite straightforward. So for me and for the members, it is simpler. It is written in plain language, as you said, Craig. So it should be easier for our consumers to understand it. I'm moving, so I must be going crunch, crunch, crunch.
love talking with our hands.
I know.
Being expressive about charters of rights get us very excited.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
My Celtic background as well doesn't actually help that. So it is simplifying what's there already, and shouldn't need actually much explanation. So anyone should be able to read it, whether it is a consumer or whether it is a family or whether it's one of our direct care workers, but able to really read it and understand what is meant by it. So it can only mean more transparency and more consistency in the sector.
Carol, I've been talking to people about how this is such an amazing opportunity to start or continue. It's not starting, it's continuing conversations with older people and their families. And yeah, it's been there before, but because we're making it explicit, what a great opportunity to get to know the older person that you're looking after and knowing what they expect from you. It's what we want people to start talking to us and having a two-way relationship.
Yeah, and as one of our member organisations, they were actually testing the Charter 8 with some of their clients, and one client said, "Isn't this always been our rights?" So it is simple, and yet it has always been their rights. So it's not really a big change because it's always been there.
Yeah.
So, thank
Beautiful.
you.
Thank you. And Maria, I guess as a consumer representative, why do you see the Charter as important to support consumers in care?
Oh, I think it's just a fabulous time and opportunity in that it's just, as Carol and Craig have both said today, it's one document, it's all under the one umbrella, it's easy to navigate and understand. Myself, even in a professional background, I struggle with the Charter for this and the Charter for that. So how can we deliver that to a consumer if it's here, there and everywhere? So under the same umbrella, I think it's really great. It's very empowering, and I think it gives the opportunity for the partnerships and us all to be working together, and that includes the organisations and the providers with the person. This is what it's about, and opening up those conversations, and it's a very great time, powerful time.
Powerful time. I agree. Okay, so the new aged care. Yes, you brought this up. The new aged care quality standards also start on the 1st of July. Craig, I guess, how do the standards align with the Charter? Can you tell me a little bit more how they will impact? I know you did mention it.
Yeah, I think that they really underpin the new quality standards. If you just think about quality standard 1, it's about consumer choice and dignity and respect. And here is a set of things, 14 points, which reinforce that dignity, respect and choice. And then if you look at some of the other, if you start to talk about the standards around personal care and clinical care, point 1 of the Charter of Rights talks about your expectation for high quality services and care, and I think that, and a safe care. So I think they're so intertwined, but it's a really good way of getting it to the consumer and the family, the older person, to actually say, this is what you can expect from your aged care service provider. I think that's a good thing. I think knowing your expectations and having a conversation about expectations can only be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, Carol, also for ACSA, what are you doing to ready yourself and your members for the implementation, specifically, I guess, of the Charter, but it's probably very closely aligned with the standards as well.
Yeah, with the standards and everything.
And the pricing.
And the pricing on the 1st of July. So ACSA, I mean, my position has been funded by ACSA specifically to support the members in transitioning to the new quality standards, the Charter and the home care pricing. So we have got a dedicated quality page for members that have got various resources available for members, recognising that all our organisations that are members of ACSA all have different needs and different requirements. They're different. They're in different places across Australia, some small, some large. We're holding webinars on lots of different subjects, and of course we'll be having more on the Charter of Rights, as well as this one. And we've also created a community of practice, a quality community of practice, where members are actually supporting each other by posing questions and also giving ideas of how you can actually implement things. And they have been having a conversation about the charter and how do they actually implement that, especially in the home care setting, where your customers are actually out there and widespread, and it is quite a big job. Where we know in residential care you have got a captured audience, and most of the providers do have resident and family meetings, so they can start to introduce it there. But for our home care providers, they are doing things like putting it in their newsletter, getting them used to what the charter does mean before they actually meet the staff. And there is an organisation that was talking to me about actually holding workshops with their direct care workers, and it would be their direct care workers that are having the conversation with their clients, which is a great thing because they're the ones that actually know the clients the best and have built the relationship up with them. So that was really pleasing to actually hear that.
That's why I think it's great. We've got some of these materials that we're developing. There's going to be a supportive booklet that the government's developing. There's our explainer video that we'll see soon.
Very shortly.
And I suppose the opportunity of those things is you can take it on an iPad and sit down while you're doing the care and have the older person watch the explainer video and then have a conversation with them about, well, what does that mean to you? What do you think this implications are of this? So that's quite a great dynamic way for home care providers and direct care staff to be actually having an opportunity to have an interaction, knowing that other things still need to get done as well, but bring the two things together.
And I've also heard of providers that have got day centres or day therapy centres holding workshops specifically for their customers and their families, so getting groups together as well, which is good.
Excellent. And as a point for Q&A, if you have any innovative ideas of how we can have this conversation and sit down and go through the charter, please contact us and we'll bring them up. I think it's time to actually look at the video that OPAN have created. It's an explainer video. Do you want to introduce that?
Yeah, sure.
Hey.
It's hot off the press, as you can say. So you're getting a first look at it today. The voiceover we've been very lucky to secure Julie McCrossan, who will be doing the voiceover for that. So that'll be lovely to hear as well. It's a conversation starter, I think I should say, Marie. So you may not get everything explained fully in this, but there's a reason for that, because you want this not to be the only thing you show someone. You want this to be how they start the conversation between the provider, the worker, the cleaner, the cook. Great way to do it. So, why don't we have a look at it now?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take it over. Thanks, Trav.
From the 1st of July 2019, the Australian Government is introducing a new and simpler Charter of Aged Care Rights for anyone receiving aged care services. As a person receiving aged care, you have the same legal rights as all Australians. The Charter of Aged Care Rights adds to these and are designed to help you by putting the focus on you, giving you choice, and making sure you are treated with respect. This video aims to help you understand these rights and how you can exercise them. We'll go through them briefly now. However, you'll also receive a copy on paper, and you can always ask for more information afterwards. Let's check them out. You have the right to safe and high quality care and services. You have the right to be treated with dignity and respect. You have the right to have your identity, culture, and diversity valued and supported. And you have the right to live without abuse and neglect. You have the right to be informed about your care and services in a way you understand. And you have the right to access information about yourself, including information about your rights, care and services. You have the right to have control over and make choices about your care, personal and social life, including where choices involve personal risk. And you have the right to have control over and to make decisions about the personal aspects of your daily life, your financial affairs, and your possessions. You have the right to your independence. You have the right to be listened to and understood. You have the right to have a person of your choice, including an aged care advocate, support you or speak on your behalf. You have the right to complain free from reprisal and to have your complaints dealt with fairly and promptly. You have the right to personal privacy and to have your personal information protected. And finally, you have the right to exercise your rights without it adversely affecting the way you are treated. So, what's next? While you have these rights, you must respect the rights of others in the aged care community too. Everyone should feel safe and respected. And you may need to consider any existing care agreements previously made with your provider. Shortly, your provider will give you a copy of the Charter of Aged Care Rights. All Australian government-funded aged care providers have an obligation to explain these rights to you in a way that you understand. We recommend sharing the Charter with your family, friends, or anyone helping with your care. This can be a great opportunity for you to discuss what's important to you. Discussing your rights and needs better enables those around you to help deliver the best care possible. Your provider will already have signed the Charter, showing you that they understand your rights. If you're comfortable doing so, we recommend you sign the Charter too. By signing, you're showing to your provider that you also understand and recognise your rights. If you're not comfortable signing, or you have concerns about your rights not being upheld, talk to your provider, family, friend or carer. Don't worry, your services will not be affected if you choose not to sign the Charter. If you prefer to talk to an independent representative, OPAN, the Older Persons Advocacy Network, on 1800 700 600 or visit their website at opan.com.au. Alternatively, you can ask for more information, give feedback or raise a complaint about your services with the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission by calling 1800 951 822 or by visiting agedcarequality.gov.au. The Charter of Aged Care Rights, proudly shared by OPAN, the Older Persons Advocacy Network, and quality aged care providers across Australia.
Okay, and what a great video, don't you think? Those characters really do come alive. So we're going to unpack these 14 rights, and I guess the rights themselves gives people receiving aged care, their families, carers and the staff a shared understanding of the rights of people in their aged care facility or aged care area. So I'm going to put it to you all. What is your favourite? Tell us about your favourite right. Why is it important and what is the difference you feel it would make? So I'm going to pick on you again, Craig.
Okay. Well, probably as you'd expect as someone who's sort of working with a aged care advocacy organisation, it's actually right 11, which is around having someone and the right to have someone to stand beside you and help you raise your issues if you want to. You can raise your issues yourself, but you also can have someone to help you do that. Now that could be one of our advocates from the Older Persons Advocacy Network and our service delivery organisations in each state and territory. It could be a family member, it could be a friend, and there could be multiple people that you want to have help you raise your issues. So that's a really important right, and it's been there before, but I think what it's doing now is making that explicit to aged care providers that having someone help you raise your issues is actually a really positive thing and can be really helpful for older people.
Yeah, absolutely, the voice for older people.
Absolutely a voice. We want to keep that voice. Just as you're in
Yeah.
aged care, you want to keep your voice.
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Yep.
Good, Maria. Now I know a secret. Yours is 7.
Yes, it is. I confess, number 7.
Okay, would you like to tell us a little bit more about why you feel number 7 is important?
Sure. Number 7 is certainly about living well, and despite where you are situated from when you were 20 to when you're 89, it is still about the person you are and about living well. It's also the opportunity to form a partnership as well with the providers, with the people that are supporting you at home, but it's giving that partnership, that link, it's opening up the conversations, and it's providing choices as well. Enablement. It's about wellness, enablement, it's about your care, it's about what you want as an individual, it's a social contact, and it's very much that partnership to enable and make those opportunities happen for you. Life's not over. You are still a living person. So.
And that would, Maria, I mean, that's something I really like about Right 11, is that it talks out and finishes on the issue of personal risk. We have our character who's going parachuting, and why shouldn't someone be able to do things in life which increase your engagement with the world, with life, with people around you? And yeah, that's going to have some risks sometimes, but just because we come into aged care doesn't mean we shouldn't still be able to take some risk. And sure, that'll need to be informed. It'll mean, Carol, I'm sure it comes up with your services a lot about how do you document that you've had it's an informed risk. It's an informed decision to take that chance. But people still have rights and can take risks in life.
They certainly do, and anyone who knows me knows that as I get older, no one's got to tell me what to do, and I'll be able to take my own risks, and I'll stand up there as I have for the whole of my life. So it doesn't end as soon as you start to get support at home or in a residential facility. So I'm with Marie. My favourite one is that one, and it's specifically around risk. And now that it's actually the word risks written there, I think that and control and risk together written there actually puts more power into the hands of the consumer. But also as providers, it gives us the opportunity to explain what the risks are and allow informed choice there too. But there will be providers as well as families that will struggle with dignity risk, and I'm sure we'll be having lots of conversations
why is
about
that, do you think?
I don't know. I think maybe this is it. I think that families now think they're going to actually have more control when it's not families that have got more control. Right. It's actually the consumer that has more control. Where families do often, I've seen it as a provider, where families are actually deciding what risks are actually taken, when in fact it's not their right to decide, as long as the person is obviously able to make decisions for themselves. So,
we talk a lot about in advocacy land about supported decision making rather than the substitute decision making. I think it's so important that you can still make your decisions even though you may have a power of attorney or something like that.
Or, I mean, it's not automatic. Just because you do have a diagnosed dementia doesn't mean to say you can actually not make your own decisions and actually take some risk. And we've still got a lot of learning around that area as well. It will be an interesting journey, and I think as providers, it'll be interesting for the quality agency for them to actually explore this too. So it is important for providers, if they allow, when allowing people to take risks, that it is well documented what you've actually told them, that people actually do know the risks that they're taking, and it's well informed.
It's all around being informed and that conversation again about what it is that I want to do, but in my ability to do so.
And bringing the families along.
Absolutely, Carol. And I think, like, my father had dementia, but he was very much involved in all of his choices, because there's different types of dementia. There's different levels of dementia and where you are. he still was very much needed to be part of and the decision making with what he wanted, and I think that's going to open up a whole can in our future with the discussions on rights and choices for people with dementia as well. So great mention today.
Fantastic.
And actually
yes.
promoting the use of advocates too. I think that's really important as our members that know that OPAN's there to actually support them, not just the consumer too, especially if there are sort of challenges with families or with neighbours. Or
Yeah, I think that's when the advocates come into their own. They'll always stand beside you and take direction from the older person, and that can sometimes be direction against or in contrary to what family might have expressed their thoughts are. And so I think our advocates are so expert at going, but what do you really want? What do you really want? What's important to you here? And actually building a plan and saying, well, how about we bring family in here? Or how about maybe the best way to do this? Could it be to talk to the provider to try and get this issue resolved? But the advocate always stands on the side of the older person, walking alongside them, making sure their voice is loud and clear, as you said.
Conduit, yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's an important role, Craig. I think having that person that's not the family, not the daughter, not the wife, not the that mediation is really important. So
Lovely, really nice, meaty conversation, which I think we're going to be having lots more of in the future to get this out and played right. Now, I've got some Q&A. I'm not texting you here. So thank you all for sending them in. I've got one here from Carmen. Thank you, Carmen. I appreciate it. How do you measure what a high-quality care and service is? Everybody has a different idea on what quality is. So that's quite a meaty question as well. Thanks, Carmen. Anyone?
Quality project facilitator here. Yeah.
The lady in pink.
yeah, she might be red in a minute.
Yeah.
Look, quality and quality of service is different for each individual, and it can be collective as well. And I think this is with the new quality standards, what us as providers and ACSA members need to remember, that your feedback from your individual customer, resident, client, whatever you've got to call them, is actually really important, more important than ever. The agency will be asking more people, consumers and families, what they actually think of the care. So your individual care plan should actually reflect the care that person actually wants and needs. And so that's how it is measured. It's from each individual and collectively. And if everyone says the quality is good, the quality is good. No matter whether you might walk in and think it's not good. If they think it's good, it is good.
So it's interesting talking around the idea of that feedback. I mean, there are the consumer experience reports that are being done in residential and have been for a while, coming into home care as well, which is really, really important. But that's not the only feedback.
No.
I think it's the constant having a conversation, and again, what a great way to start those conversations or continue them on with the Charter of Rights about what does that mean. Because as people start to unpack that and say, well, dignity of risk or independence, that's what that means for me. And so it is the tailoring of that for the individual, which will be so wonderful and important.
And it is the small things that our direct care providers support the residents and clients with every day that does make the service a quality service for that individual. No matter what your organisation may have, it is about that relationship because quality is built on relationships with each other and sort of fostering those relationships. So for direct care providers, it's for them to be able to explain the little things that they do that actually make the difference for the people that they actually support and care for, whether it be at home or in a residential facility, and understand how that really impacts on the person and their quality of life.
Yeah, fantastic. Good. There's another one here from Tom. Does the Charter include home care packages and residential packages?
Yeah, so we'll talk in a minute about when the implementation timeframes are for the different areas. But this is a single charter. This is your rights, whether you be receiving Commonwealth Home Support, whether you be receiving home care package or residential or flexible care, whatever it is. Anything that's funded by the Commonwealth, this charter applies to.
Okay. John, if a resident refuses to sign the charter, can we just document this on the charter and file it away?
Yep.
Take that one first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as the short video did allude to, a customer doesn't need to sign the charter. I'm not sure why they wouldn't, but we've all got idiosyncrasies out there. We're all individuals, so I'm sure you will come across those that'll not want to sign it, and that's actually okay. And to document on the charter that they've seen it, but they've refused to sign it is fine.
Beautiful. Actually, we might segue into signing the charter. So the new charter, as you suggested, is to be signed by the provider, and the consumer is invited or offered to sign. What's the significance of, I guess, signing the charter, and is it essential? Just to make that absolutely clear for the viewers out there.
Yeah, so the provider absolutely has a legislative responsibility to sign the charter. They've also got a responsibility to explain the charter to the older person, and ideally the older person, their family, and authorised representative, because they're on there as well, about what this actually means. So the idea, I think, Maria, you were saying before, we don't want this to be a ticker flick. Yeah, but it's important that people understand this. So that's where the responsibility is. For the consumer, again, it's you must be offered, and if they say no, document it. But take the opportunity to find out why. Have the conversation. So what are you worried about here? Explain to me more about what you're worried about, because it could be a misunderstanding. It could be something they've got a concern about that you can do something about and keep them happy.
Dig a little
Absolutely,
deeper.
Craig.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be the concern about just signing another piece of paper. That's been a comment that's come back to me quite often, the fear, and what am I signing for, and what else are you trying to do to me? So it's that conversation and the explanation, and it's in a language or an understanding that the person, and why, and having that conversation. Yeah, absolutely.
Bev asks, are providers expected to keep a copy of the signed charter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's important that the copy doesn't sit in the back of the funding agreement or wherever, but that is there in the file that they've done it, isn't it?
Yep.
Excellent. So it's not really a difficult process. It's sitting down and chatting, isn't it? And then diving a bit deeper, like you suggested, Craig. So I guess and OPAN will be producing some resources and assistance, as you will as well, Carol. We're talking now timeline for implementing the charter, and it's quite tight.
It is tight.
Yes. So can we look at the dates and the different types of care that have those sort of dates? Either Craig or Carol
or
the
together.
CCT together. That's what we're doing.
Collaboratively.
Why don't you take residential and I'll take home?
So for residential aged care providers, all new residents entering into a facility from the 1st of July have got to obviously be given a signed charter and then gone through it. So that's quite easy, because you have got a lot of paperwork to sign when you go into a residential facility. So I can totally understand why people would find it a bit daunting. There are more pieces of paper to sign to go into a residential facility than there is to actually get a heart-lung transplant, in case you didn't know you were.
There we go.
So it is quite daunting. And then after that, for the current residents, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, I think it's up until September. I'm dropping out. Yeah. That might be a good thing.
No.
So I believe it's until September. Is it September?
Correct. Yeah,
September.
it's the 30th of September for residential, and then round to the 31st of December for home care, and still sort of just nutting out around CHSP, but I think though you want to start that conversation early, so it's not just about let's wait till the end.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why you can't have this conversation over a number of steps, and then actually get to a point where someone's comfortable to sign.
So that was some of the concerns of the ACSA members was mainly for the CHSP, because there's obviously a bigger number of sort of those, and so if we could know when the date for that was, I think that would relieve some of the anxiety from definitely our members.
So the government intention is we did check up on this with the Department of Health, and obviously there was an election last week.
Oh, there was.
And it kind of got in the way of a few things. So they are just confirming that. They said that the intention, though, that it would be aligned with home care. That's the intention for this at this stage. But we'll definitely have information on our website. I'm sure the Department of Health will as well. There's some other materials coming as well, which is the department will have a booklet that's either downloadable or able to be ordered as well, which will start to explain some of this.
Because I know some of the CHSP providers did have some. I suppose they've got challenges, and it's about the amounts of paper, because there are actually individuals who do actually receive CHSP through multiple providers because of the type of service it is. So they could be signing up to 4 pieces of paper that all say the same. So it'll start, I think it'll start to look like what am I signing now?
Yeah.
Although they should know what the charter says.
Yep.
So I think that's quite nuanced to that particular service. So and it has come up in Q&A as well. So it will be something that will have to be nutted out.
So part of these ones today, I suppose, this was a good opportunity to have a briefing to the industry, also letting people know what resources are coming. So we won't have all the answers today, I think, but and us as a panel, but we're hearing those concerns, and and some of the workforce and other webinars that are coming up. Hopefully we'll have all those answers for those.
And I suppose from the government's perspective, I mean, it's more about organisations showing good intent to actually make, with the timelines, to actually meet those timelines. So if you're well down the track of it, you've actually showed good intent, rather than just doing the tick and flick and just getting everything sort of signed. So it's about the value in the conversation versus the tick and flick.
Yep.
Absolutely, and I think it builds that conversation and the trust with the consumers out there, and that's what I found from my experience, Carol, and that's so important, particularly when we're talking about the new charter and so forth. You know, to open up those conversations, you've got to have that baseline, you've got to have that trust, you've got to have the communication. I mean, if somebody approached me, unless I trusted them, are you going to sign something? No. So
very suspicious.
Absolutely, in this day and age, people are. So it's breaking that ice and making a start and building that respect and rapport. So thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. So we have one from an anonymous person. We'd love your name, but please, you have a voice. As this is legislation, and I'm assuming you mean signing the Charter, can a provider add to the Charter of Rights?
So we had this discussion earlier, and I suppose the legislation says that the Charter is the Charter. So that is the rights. You can't change those rights for a person. The responsibilities are there, and are in the user principles. What has been talked about is the idea of having an additional some things about how you'll interact. But for me, I suppose I'd want to actually look at why people are feeling they need to put these other things in. I mean, contracts and those are protected, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not trying to say that it is, but the idea of someone having to pay their fees, if that's what people are worried about. So what also providers concerned about, that they feel that they have to put these other things, sometimes about, I suppose, safety. Yeah.
It's usually safety of staff and behaviours from other residents in residential facilities that were sort of in the responsibilities previously, and these are just sort of these are just rights, not the responsibilities. But that's okay, because anyone has rights, and with your rights do come responsibilities.
Yeah.
So is it that an organisation maybe does have a code of conduct as well that they can sort of put with the charter, not add it to it, but it's with it. And I believe that in the brochure that is coming out that you've got to talk about, that you've got to talk about in those resources, it does actually talk about responsibilities too, where because of the election, some of those things were delayed and actually been coming out from the department. So I believe that's what providers and our members are talking about. It is about fees, paying fees, and that's always in your agreement and always has been in agreement. It's about residents' rights and other residents' rights and behaviours, and as well as safety of staff and not doing things that are unsafe to staff or abuse to staff as well.
I think our little explainer video sort of said that I've got rights, but Maria's got rights.
Yeah.
I've got to respect Maria's rights as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's treat others how you
you
want
got
to be
it.
treated
Exactly.
yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so another anonymous question. What does signing the charter mean for existing clients? I think we might have covered that, but just for clarity, the date. Signing timeline for existing.
So for existing, it means that if you're a current receiver of aged care, you need to have sat down with that person or communicated with that person. There's ways, mechanisms of doing it for residential by 30th of November and for home care. September, what am I saying? 30th September, don't get me wrong. 30th September and then the 31st of December for home care. And I suppose though is what maybe underneath that question was about what does it mean by the person signing it? By the provider signing it, it's saying that I'm committing to help you uphold those rights and respect those rights. For the consumer itself, I suppose that noting is, yeah, I've got this, I understand, I've got this in my hand, I'll use this, this is my protection. Yeah, I think that's...
Good. So Robert's got an interesting one, and it's just gone. Oh, sorry, Robert. Okay, Teresa, where can you get training to have the confidence in explaining the charter to care recipients?
Who's going to ask that?
Oh,
Marie,
I can answer that one.
What are you doing next week, Marie?
So, Teresa, we are running a suite of webinars and also community events across Australia. So next week, Monday and Tuesday, through Eventbrite, you will find the further information. It's actually on our screen. Thanks, IT. So you will, there will be a workplace, particularly orientated webinar where we will actually role play. I think we'll try and get a frontline worker and hopefully a consumer, and we will go through actually having the discussion in regards to rights. What are rights, how to sign the form if they don't want to sign, and some of the challenging conversations initially if you're not confident to have, and hopefully we'll capture that in webinar. The community meetings or events are open to absolutely everybody, and it will be run along a similar vein. We'll have a panel. Hopefully, Maria, you might be there with me as well.
Thanks, Maria.
And we will discuss what we have today, but there'll be audience input as well, and we can try and assist in any way. So if you do have any particular wants, please email us at OPAN or go to the OPAN website on opan.com.au.
We'll also have information on those on the ACSA website too. So members can access the quality page on the ACSA website, and we'll have information on there that's been supplied by Craig as well, and a link to today's panel today as well.
I might have to get on your website, I think. It's all about collaboration.
It is, and partnerships.
Right. And the other things that are coming, as I said, I think people are worried about, well, where's the supporting material for this? And as I said, the department has said to us that they've developed a booklet that they're working with the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission on. Yep. That'll be ready for release before 1 July. Will be downloadable but also my understanding is that they'll have printed versions that you can order. So I think for people who are about to start the conversation with an older person who's in their care or support, that will be an important thing to say. Here's the piece of paper, here's the video, but also here's a booklet you can take away as well. So we'll keep people up to date about when those booklets are ready and ready for use.
Absolutely.
I mean, Mary, what sort of information would you think you want? I'm interested if you were
absolutely.
carer land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I keep thinking of tractor land. I know that sounds funny, but coming from a rural area, it's how you open those conversations with particularly our older farmers. And it's I think it's around capturing where they are, what they're doing, where they're attending and so forth. And it's all about the language that you speak. And I think it would be great to have some conversations with some of our older community to see what they feel about it, because if you put anything in a language they don't understand, they won't look at it. They haven't got the time. So I think there's a lot of information that can go into it, and I think potentially there's so many organisations and people doing some amazing work out there, but it's collaborating those partnerships and pulling it together. I think that's the big thing. When people go looking for information, where do they go? And I think even putting OPAD out in our area, what people said to me, what? You know, so we've got to create that link, the awareness, and perhaps link people into yourself, Marie. Like myself, only discovering you. I know you're only new in your role for 2 weeks, but having you within our area and community is just fantastic. And I think expanding the network, Craig, OPAD, and also linking in with yourself, Carol, and the organisations. And I think a lot of information can go in the booklet. And you also mentioned individual communities, what's relevant to that community. That's a big factor. Like
Definitely.
Metropolitan versus rural. It's not versus, but there's differences to the needs and the issues. Yeah.
It's understanding your audience
and
where it actually is,
Yeah.
and starting that conversation.
Absolutely. But I think there's a whole lot that can be done, Craig.
So there's going to be almost like a toolkit that's going to sit on our website. Some of these videos will be there, but encouraged to come along to those community events that Marie's going to be running.
Fantastic.
So if we could get them back on the
they're in
screen,
all
that
states,
would be
aren't
great.
they? All states.
All states, yes, and territories, yes, absolutely. So myself and Craig will be doing a few others as well. Hobart, I believe you're going to Hobart and Melbourne.
Melbourne?
Yes.
Melbourne Town Hall, I think, is a very lovely
Yes, it is.
event.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So I want to see everyone come and join us for the educational community events. The dates are up, and we have got some regional areas, Albury and Ballarat as well, so please attend those. They will be for 2 hours, I think, as I said, quite educational, discussing exactly what we have here today as well, just with different panellists and different perspectives and your voice as well. I just want to cover over a few more Q&A if I can get my phone to work. We have one here, having a conversation with 300 plus community providers, clients, can be challenging to be completed with other commitments by the 31st of December. Would an explanation letter suffice? So community clients usually do not have home visits. Anyone?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you get in there, girl.
I'm just puzzled by the last question. The last bit. Community clients don't have home visits. I bet it's home visits from a coordinator.
Yeah, and I guess if this is for Commonwealth Home Support Program, there is one of the biggest issues is the funding. It's a really big issue in that the demand for the services is there. And what we're experiencing here in Australia, and this is honest, open conversation, is that the demand and wait for home care packages is exceeding the time of this program. The program was initially set up that it was short term and it would assist people in that period of time until they got their home care package. Unfortunately, because of the waiting periods, it's blowing out. So I can speak from experience and won't name any organisations, but in a particular position which is very, very part-time, and it depends on the organisation as to the caseload and the case management numbers that you have. So it would be ideal to get out to see everybody and provide that one-on-one, but it's very individual with what's happening with organisations and the expectations of how much you have to deliver in that time frame. But I think for anyone in the industry, please voice up respectfully, have a talk to your management and open up the discussion. Also, I think transparency with our consumers and clients as well. You know, this is what's actually happening, but we're trying to do something about it. But you can ring me and we can have a chat about it. So
I suppose the question there was talking about, can I just send out an explainer letter? I think that kind of loses a bit of the intent of the charter and you have a responsibility as a provider to explain it. It's probably not, but this is what the explainer video is for. If someone else is going in, as in a home support or that sort of thing, this is about kind of empowering our frontline staff or direct care workers and that sort of thing, that people are going there. Put it on the phone. Have them show that to the person while they're there. It'd be a great opportunity to have a conversation.
And like, all the staff have got to understand the rights as well, because they're the ones that are in the home and are abiding by those rights with the customer or client or resident. So often it's easier to get your staff together and explain it to them, and then those staff can actually explain it to the client that they actually know and respect. And some of the providers have been doing that and been saying they've been doing that. Also putting it in the organisational newsletters as a starter. There are ways you can do things as a starter just so that people start to understand. And then they might ask questions of their direct care worker when they go in as well. So there are ways you can do it. You can follow up by phone as well. If you do put something up, you can say, ring me, like, if you need an explanation or a further discussion on it. And as we said at the beginning, it's not about a rush out there to get everything signed up. It's about the intent of the whole process and doing it well, not actually just meeting a deadline.
But don't wait till
the
28th or whatever to start the process. So.
Because that is just
I think, Carol, also that time for getting your staff to sit together and talk about the rights is a great reflective practice for themselves and why they're there and what they're doing. And I think that's very important in any carer or nurse's role. I think that self-reflection. Well, I think we've come to the end of our webinar today. We've had an amazing, dynamic and informative discussion, and I thank my panellists greatly. And I thank the audience out there for your Q&A and your time. Now, this is being recorded, so there were quite a few Q&As to say, can we get this? Is this available for my staff to watch? Absolutely. So please come to the OPAN web link at www.opan.com.au. Or if you have any questions, we have our hotline. It's 1800 700 600. And I thank you for your time. Thank you again, panellists and IT, and we'll say goodbye. See you later.
Thank you.